Hello! So today I want to share some of the things that I have decluttered lately, some of the fall ins and outs, and I also have listened to Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up again. Last time it was quite a long time ago that I listened to it, and I also got a bit inspired by that. And I realized that there were some areas where things slipped back in again, so it was time to declutter a little bit. And especially the practical things, some small things that cluttered up again, and mostly some external things that I let into my home. And I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video, and I will share a bit more about Skillshare later on. So the first thing is just emptying out some jars and things that I had laying around in my kitchen, like the spirulina. And when I feel overwhelmed, I also look at just emptying things up, like unused food or toiletries, things that just lay a bit stagnant somewhere in my closet, and the less unused things I have, the better I feel. Also in my kitchen cabinets or bathroom, just everywhere. And I found a couple of things that I wanted to use up and get rid of. And one of them was this jar of spirulina. And for now, I try not to add things back. Even though I like to drink it sometimes, occasionally, I rather just have empty space in my cabinet. And for now, I just want to focus on simplicity the most. A while ago, I already finished my matcha, and for that I also am not going to buy a replacement. Maybe someday in the future I will add some things back, but I really enjoy the simplicity now. And just coffee and tea it is for me for now. And I love emptying things up, especially when I'm a bit fed up with them or I just want to get rid of them. I don't use them anymore. I love the feeling that it gives me when I empty it out and to gain space back again. And I love the calmness, the emptiness, and personally, I have never been someone who had a ton of shampoo bottles, toiletries, makeup, spices, different kind of perfumes and those kind of things, ingredients, you name it. It has always made me feel a bit restless when there was too much, and especially if it was unused. And lately, especially during summer, it was very busy at my job, and sometimes it felt like going through the day already took up quite some energy, so that is why I appreciate things to be even calmer at my home. And I also emptied out some snacks that my rabbit Laurier did not want it to eat. It doesn't only count for me, also keeping stuff that he doesn't enjoy or wants to eat is a bit pointless for me. It will expire anyway, so I can just as easily throw it away now. I tried to give him several times, but he really doesn't like it. He really doesn't want to eat it, so it's time to let this go. And then I also got rid of some medicine that were expired and also things from Laurier. He had quite some medicine as well. And I went to the pharmacy because they have a special box where they collect old medicine to dispose of it. And I did make sure previously that everything that could reveal personal information, that I make sure to get that off the packaging. I was not sure anymore if I needed to keep the packaging on so that they know with what they are dealing with or if I should remove the packaging. But it turned out that they only take medicine without the paper boxes anyway. So today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare has many creative classes for hobbyists, creative professionals, and everyone in between. You can learn a skill from scratch, build a creative habit, or just level up your career. And I am a huge advocate for being creative, for doing creative things. I know how much making art and being creative in life has helped me. So it's important for me to learn new skills, to do new projects and so forth, to create something that I'm proud of or just to express myself creatively. And I just love getting lost in the creative workflow by following certain instructions so that I can make something of my own. And last week I took the class Filmmaking Techniques, Create Cinematic Compositions. I took this class because I love to film landscapes and I love to film outside, and I wanted to be more aware of how I can illustrate a certain feeling or a certain thought or vibe with the composition and placement of my camera. And I also wanted to just go outside in the fall and to enjoy and watch all the changing colors, to breathe the autumn air and to just catch some pretty pictures. And what I also really like about Skillshare is that the classes are given by world-class creatives and professional illustrators, renowned designers, fashion photographers, and so forth. Just people who are successful in their career and who want to share their knowledge. And you can just be creative on the platform and also get feedback on your assignments if you want to learn. Or if you want to, you can make some connections with other peers who have similar interests. You can learn on your own pace, so you can take as many classes as you want, take it as fast or as slow as you want. You can take the classes whenever you want and at any time actually. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or to scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial on Skillshare, so you can try it out. And it's definitely worth it. So thanks Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And then I go to books, and this was an area that really creeped in unnoticed, and the outside world threw so many books at me and I just accepted everything. Eventually I even got a little bit stressed about the big pile of books that I collected. So I really love books and I also really love information in general, but I mostly love to listen to books, and I had set the intention to read a bit more paper books and especially fiction just for fun as a leisure activity. I talked about this with several people and of course well meant. I received a lot of books from people, from my colleagues and from everywhere, books that people just left behind at my workplace. Everything was given to me, and of course this is very nice, but the books, they just kept coming in from everywhere, and I didn't even film everything because some of them I already got rid of. And even though I love books, I did really feel the need to have them gone as soon as possible. Especially having a pile of to-dos that just kept on growing was something that I wanted to get rid of, and I just wanted to have emptiness again. And I don't know why these kinds of things take up so much mental space in the back of my mind, but it's something that I have to be consciously aware of and just work with it. So from now on, I'd rather just have one book that I'm reading and I want to enjoy it slowly and just take my time with it to not feel pressure of a whole pile waiting. I just don't really like having piles of anything. So I think that in the last couple of years I only bought 2 or 3 books myself and the rest was given to me, which of course is very nice and kind, but I will have to put a limit on that. And the strange thing this time was that I could not really let them go without having read them, all of them. And so I started to feel some pressure that was actually very unnecessary. But I did set the intention that I rather say no up front instead of having to deal with me not being able to let it go and feeling the need that I have to read them all. And it was a bit strange that this happened because I am really an advocate for letting go of things that don't serve you anymore. And even unread books, to-dos and those kind of things. And Marie Kondo had a very good saying about that. She said that you bought an idea or you bought the knowledge that now you know that you don't want to read this particular book, and that was the lesson of it, and that it doesn't have to serve another purpose other than that, and you can just let it go. And I really liked that. It was very freeing, liberating, and I will try to keep that more in my mind. And I started to notice that paper started to accumulate again. So I wanted to address things at the roots this time. And I spent a couple of hours contacting companies to get me off the mailing list, and it was a little bit of work, but eventually it will make it easier if I receive less paper in the future. Because recycling paper also costs me some time. I need to make sure that my name and address and everything, that I take that off, and also the staples in the paper, or maybe if there's some plastic on the envelope, I need to separate those. So it's really waste of materials, time and energy. I had a couple of paper advertisements as well. Luckily, most of the things I buy second hand, but the couple of times that I ordered something online, usually they keep on sending paper advertisements as well. And also things like, for example, my car insurance and those kind of things, they also keep on sending some advertisements, and I just canceled everything, contacted them and canceled it. And then my hair straightener, this one I did replace because it broke down. I had it for almost 10 years and it was something that I used daily, but it's always too bad when something just stops working. And I did buy a new one to replace it, and I tried to dispose of the broken one as best as I could. So I brought it to the recycling station. I just keep it in a bag and collect a couple of things that need to go to the recycling station, and then once in a while I go there. And then I had some small things piling up, like empty batteries and broken cables. I try to protect them, but my rabbit Laudier, he's smart and sometimes he will find them. Unfortunately, somehow cables are a rabbit's favorite food, and so I took it to the recycling station. And then I had this medicine box, and I used it for storing supplements, and I hope that I will never return to that phase, to the phase and the amount of supplements that I took a couple years ago. Looking back at it now, I think it was a bit too much, and I hope it was some sort of reaction at the time and the times we were living in. I remember that I was really worried and preoccupied with health back then, and I got carried away a little bit in the process. I try to keep it more minimal now, and currently I only use vitamin D and magnesium, but I'm fine if I add a bit more like vitamin C or multivitamin, as long as it's just a couple of vitamins a day. I think that should be enough actually. And so I think it's time to let go of this medicine box, and I hope that I can keep the amount of supplements minimal in the future. And then I had this salt inhaler, and it's the same story with this salt inhaler as with the medicine box. It was something that I used especially during that phase, but I haven't used it for a while, so I have let go of it. And I filmed this quite a while ago, and I was not sure if I already shared it, but I still had the files on my laptop, so now I can delete them. And I have some random things like a cable and headphones. And I don't know how I accumulated these, and also I'm not sure why I'm keeping them. Probably for what if situations, but since I have never used them, I think it's time to let them go, because I don't think I will use them in the future. I have not for once needed them so far. And I had this kind of brush to clean my hairbrush, and for a while I used it weekly to clean my hairbrush, but as it goes with many of the things that are designed to help maintaining other things, it became more of a difficult thing, because after cleaning my hairbrush, I now had to clean this brush too, and it was even more difficult to clean between these sharp pins. And so I noticed that I kind of delayed cleaning my hairbrush because I was not looking forward to clean this small thing, and so I decided that it's not worth it. And what I have found out now is that what works the best for me to clean my hairbrush is to just let it soak a little bit in water and maybe some soap or shampoo, and then I just use a regular cleaning cloth that I use for cleaning anything. And to be honest, it's actually easier, and after that I can just wash the cleaning cloth in the washing machine with the rest of my laundry, so it's not really an extra step for me. And then a while back I brought this new robot vacuum cleaner, and it came with some extra things, and most of it I already got rid of, but I had these just in case replacement, because why would I throw something away that I might need someday in the future? But then I decided that now is the perfect time to replace them. And so I put it on the robot vacuum cleaner. And if I will need something in the future, then I can probably find something online anyway. No need to keep it in my closet. And then I had this rolling pin, and I haven't really baked in ages, but I keep it because I think I might do that again someday in the future. But when I reread Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, she talked about how expensive it actually is to store items, and also energetically wise, that it's actually more convenient to keep stores as storage spaces and your home just clean and clear. No to-dos, no some days, just the things you use now. And I really love that idea. I have to say that I do really understand that, especially in this economy that we are living today, that we sometimes want to hold on to things just in case, and also for the environment. And I really understand that. It's something I struggle with myself too lately. I also don't want to get rid of too many things, but I decided that I am not sure if I will go back to baking again, and if that will be soon or maybe just after 5 years, who knows, or later. And I probably can always find one in the thrift store if I need one in the future, so I was able to let this one go. And then I also got rid of a package of blackout stickers. And my intention was to black out the lightning from my internet modem. Especially for Laurier, I want him to not be that affected by electronics, but it just kept falling off. No matter how hard I pressed the stickers, a couple minutes later they fell off anyway, and I was picking them up and replacing them all the time. So after a while I felt like this is not the way to go. And I decided that I'm just not going to cover the lights up right now. And then I had a cheese slicer, and it was a little bit of a funny story because while I was editing my kitchen video a couple months ago, I realized that I did not use this cheese slicer for years and could not even remember when I used it the last time. I tried to limit cheese and dairy, and if I consume them, it's probably feta or goat cheese, so I don't need a specific cheese slicer for that. And for the very rare occasions that I might bring a block of cheese in the future, I think it will be more than okay for that time to just use a knife, and I don't need to keep a whole object just for that. It's just such a standard item here in the Netherlands that I never really thought much about it, but when I was editing I realized that I never use it, so it's time to let it go. And then I had these Pilates cards, and I received it from a colleague of mine. She didn't need them anymore and thought of me, and because it was so kind and it caught me off guard a bit, I just said yes. And I thought, who knows, maybe there is something in it for me, let me take a look. And even though I'm not really a cards kind of person, I'd rather watch a video, I still took them home. So to no surprise, when I brought it back home, I kind of regretted it immediately. And then of course I had laying it around for a while, and eventually I brought it to the thrift store. And of course it was very kind that a colleague of mine gave me this, but again, important to be careful with what I bring in. And the last thing was something that also piled up, and it were just some small working tools like screws, nails and so forth. And these small things piled up, especially during my move here. And I accumulated them in a bag for just in case I might need them, but I never used them, and if I will move again I probably will not know where it's from anyway, and I will have to buy new screws, so it's time to let them go. And here I also did not know if I already showed this because it was something that I let go of quite a while ago, but I still had the file of it, but after this video I will delete it. And thanks so much for watching, see you next time.